Namaste, Sonali ma'am, Annapurna ma'am, teachers, students, and dear parents. As kids, we have often sung the rhyme. Bits of paper, lying on the floor, makes the place untidy, makes the place untidy. Pick them up. We might have never thought how a simple act of clearing litter adds profoundly to a larger process of waste management, not just on land, but also in water. Today, to help us understand the weight of marine debris management, we are privileged to interact with Ms. Alison Foley, the founder and director of 10 Little Pieces, a movement that empowers ordinary people to help solve marine pollution crisis. Alison ma'am, a warm welcome to the Sri Ram Millennium School, Faridabad.
Namaste. Thank you so much for having me.
I now request our principal, Ms. Sonali ma'am, for the welcome address.
Thank you, Shrishti. Namaste. Namaste to all our parents, grandparents, the entire virtual audience who's watching us, our teachers, and our very, very own dear bachas, children of TSMS, and all those who might be watching us later as we play the recording on YouTube. A very warm namaste to Alison Foley, our guest speaker for the day. So honored and privileged to have you with us, Ms. Foley. All the way from Australia, thank you for taking out the time. It is indeed an honor for all of us at the Sri Ram Millennium School to have you join us and talk on a topic that is so close to our hearts, marine debris. And environment is a program that is again very, very special at TSMS with our children doing their little bit for the environment. This is a talk series that we host, Prakriti or Hum. Literally translated, it means nature and us. We started it this year and we've been very, very fortunate to get a whole lot of speakers from across the globe talking to our children and creating awareness so that they understand how is it that each one of us can contribute in our little ways. Thank you so much once again, and really, really looking forward. Children, do make notes and ask away questions that you might need to so that you all can contribute in your own way. Thank you once again. And without taking much from your time, back to you, children, to take the event forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Sonali ma'am. I now invite Aru Sood to introduce our speaker for today.
Ms. Alison Foley is the founder and director of 10 Little Pieces, a movement that empowers ordinary people to help solve our litter and marine pollution crisis. From humble beginnings just a few years ago, 10 Little Pieces now delivers inspiring, action-oriented education programs helping to empower children from preschool through to school level levels in the science of marine debris, circular economic theory, and solutions-based thinking. The organization is a member of the United Nations Environment Programme, the Global Partnership on Marine Litter, and the recipient of the Sunshine Coast Council Australia Day Award for Environment and Sustainability 2020. Alison ma'am, we look forward to learning more about this movement from you.
Thank you indeed. That's a beautiful welcome and a lovely introduction. Ms. Gupta, am I going to share my screen now?
Yes, Alison.
Please go ahead.
You wish.
Very good. Thank you, everybody. Namaste. Thank you for having me as the founder and director of 10 Little Pieces. The image that you see in front of you is our logo. And one of the things that draws the community that follows the movement around the world is the relationship that we have to this image. So for the scientists that I interact with, this blue dot with little pieces of color in it represents just one drop of water with many, many microplastics in it. And for even the youngest children that we have the pleasure of educating, this picture represents the world covered in debris. Now, I grew up, I'm calling from Australia today, and it's an honor to join you, but I grew up on an island in the south of Australia called Tasmania. So it's the home of the Tassie Devil, the home of Ricky Ponting, and home also to some of the largest rainforests in the world. But wherever we went as children, we were always close to the water. We were swimming, we were surfing, we were sailing, and the teachers and educators in the meeting today will understand that when you grow up in a small town, you always want to see what adventures lay over the horizon. So here's a picture of Tasmania down the south of Australia, and now you can see that there is a lot of ocean around us. So for me, there was always an adventure to be had, and as soon as I was able to travel around the world, I was lucky enough, I was always fascinated with the ocean. So I worked on the Great Barrier Reef as my first job out of university on some of the largest super yachts in the world. So I was lucky enough to work in Europe and America and the Caribbean and all across the Pacific on these very large yachts. And I was a diver and got to see some of the most incredibly beautiful environments, both above and below the water. So this privileged lifestyle made me realize how much beauty and how much wonder there is in our ocean world. The ocean makes up over 70% of the surface of the earth, and there's so much unexplored already. So that sense of wonder was always within me, and I encourage you to relate to nature in a way that inspires you, like the ocean inspires me. When I returned to land after 10 years of working, traveling the oceans, I became a mother. I have 3 little boys, and I had them sitting on a beach, a really hot beach in the middle of summer. And the mothers in our meeting today will understand what children are like in a hot environment. They were whinging for an ice cream. My eldest boy, as I packed up the beach kit, I said to my children that an ice cream would cost them just 10 little pieces of rubbish. So my 3 little children walked not very far from me and picked up bottles and cigarette butts and food wrappers and things from this very beach. The picture that you see this is Noosa Main Beach, one of a very famous tourist attraction here. So a beach that looks pristine actually had arms full of debris that my own children could pick up. When we got the ice creams, my 6-year-old asked the ice cream store lady if he could have his ice cream in a cone, because he didn't want the little plastic spoon that came with the cup. So a 6-year-old had put together what he consumed with what could influence the environment around him. And that was the beginning of 10 Little Pieces. So from there, I became really interested in marine debris, plastic pollution, ocean literacy, and how I can use the act of litter picking, this small amount that a child can engage in, to start a conversation about what we consume. And that has led to my understanding of the interrelationship of the Sustainable Development Goals and the plans that we have as humanity at the highest levels to network and collaborate to make the world a livable and fair and equitable and safe and clean place. We've got a lot of work to do. I know that you've been studying SDG 1, no poverty, and SDG 2, zero hunger, but all of these things actually relate to each other. So my area, my specific area, is life below water, SDG 14, but you can look from the screen in front of you that relates very clearly to SDG 6, clean water and sanitation, SDG 12, responsible consumption and production. There's so much that can be climate action, life on land, partnership for the goals, all of the initiatives that are well thought out in terms of solving some of society's issues often address more than one SDG. And that's what I would love for you to take away today, is that if you can develop a solution and use your initiative try very hard to incorporate the solution to multiple SDGs, using waste to address climate action, or using clean water and sanitation to provide good health and well-being, and see how you can branch out the ripple effect of your efforts to address more than one. So this is a slide that I use in many of my presentations for all year groups. It's a picture of balloons being let go into the sky. And I ask my students, what's happening in this picture? Where are the balloons going? And often the littlest ones will say, it's going away, they're going away. And I think as humanity, we need to understand and really recognize that there is no away. Whatever we use is from a limited supply of resource, and once those goods or the packaging they come in leave us, it has to go somewhere. And unfortunately, an awful lot of what we use and what we package, the way we package the things we use, lasts hundreds of years beyond the usefulness of the product that it comes in. For example, the plastic bottles that you find in your streets and the plastic bottles that we find everywhere in our ocean, 450 years is the estimate on this NOAA graphic. Now, we don't know how long exactly that plastic bottle will last, but we do know it's not going away. It's not breaking down, it's only breaking up into smaller and smaller pieces. So we've got a really big issue on our hands. Now, just to give you a little bit of statistics here, we've got 11 million metric tons of debris entering our ocean annually. That figure is set to triple by 2040 to 29 million metric tons. It's difficult to conceptualize, to really understand how the volume of what that represents, those numbers. It's incredibly profound to think that it's more than one garbage truck worth of debris entering the ocean every minute of every hour of every day. These are really confronting statistics. And as I've just mentioned, it doesn't go away. It only breaks up into smaller and smaller pieces. So once debris leaves our rivers and ocean and shorelines, it accumulates in one of 5 oceanic gyres, the largest of which is 1.6 million square kilometres of swirling plastic soup. You might have heard that there's the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. It's not an island, it's just 40 metres thick of tiny pieces of plastic, like you can see on the right of your screen there, smaller and smaller and smaller pieces that was almost impossible to clean up. So with those projections set to increase at such a vast rate, a lot of the conferences that I sit on are about stepping away from recycling as an answer and much more towards refusing in the first place and redesigning. So I'll talk about that in a moment. One of the terrible consequences of plastic debris in our oceans is that plastic actually smothers the ability of the ocean to absorb carbon dioxide and draw down the impurities that we're pumping into the atmosphere from land. So the ability of the ocean to absorb carbon dioxide and also temperature, to regulate the temperature of the ocean, is being hampered significantly by the amount of debris that is accumulating in our ocean. So this graphic will tell you the planet has 2 lungs. One is green, which means we get our oxygen from plant-based life on land, and the other is blue. The ocean is one of the planet's lungs, and we're killing it. So when we talk about the new food chain, what that means for us as humans is that the microplastics are being absorbed into the food chain, and then we are eating the fish. So here we have Virat Kohli. Although he's actually vegetarian now, but the way that microplastics is moving.
Virat Kohli is a vegetarian. Ma'am, I know Virat Kohli is a vegetarian now. He used to eat non-veg.
Yes, he is a vegetarian, yes. So this is just to show you how that plastic ends up in our food chain, in us. So the average adult actually consumes around 2,000 small fragments of plastic every week. That's about as much as a credit card or 5 grams of plastic. A spoonful of plastic is what you're eating every week. So for you, it would take around, for most people in the world, it takes around 3 weeks to eat the equivalent of a plastic comb that you would comb your hair with, or about 10 weeks to eat a plastic coat hanger that you might hang your clothes on. So we're already consuming this, and what a lot of the current science is trying to ascertain, trying to understand better, is the effect of that plastic on human health, on fertility, and on our well-being as a race. So there's some fascinating research being conducted right now, and hopefully we'll have some more answers. But what this shows you is that we're already becoming, the toxins are already within us. Plastic is in the deepest ocean. It's in the highest mountain ranges. It's in the water we drink, the food we eat, the clothes we wear. It's even in the bloodstreams of unborn babies. It is everywhere, and the situation is getting worse. So what can we do about it? So all of the projections and the science, I find it hard sometimes to understand the science and know that how much trouble we're in. But I try very, very hard to keep focused on my belief that through education and helping students relate to what they care about and use their imagination and their ability to invent and come up with solutions, that we can actually circumvent, come around, rather than go through a lot of the challenges that we are destined to face if we don't make drastic changes. So this graphic that you see in front of you is the basis of the 10 Little Pieces education program, from 4-year-olds, children who are just before school, all the way through to beginning university. And I use this as lesson planning to help students rethink, being mindful of our consumption, our relationship with things, and our relationship to Earth. I really loved Ms. Gupta's comment, the nature in us. We are nature. We don't participate in nature. It is us, what we drink, what we breathe, how we relate. We are all part of the same closed loop system. And what we do in one place has an effect and a reaction in another, and vice versa. So we need to be much more mindful of our impact, and both positive and negative, how we harm the earth, but also how we can heal the earth. So you may be very familiar with reduce, reuse, recycle, which we see here represented. But as an experiment, I would love for you to open a dictionary in the coming days to the page that starts with re, and find as many words as you can that has re-gift, relearn, remedy, regenerate, restore, recover, re-gift. All of these give an impression of breaking down an old pattern in order to rebuild it. And that's what's necessary if we are to meet the Sustainable Development Goals in such a short space of time. So I'm just moving slides, excuse me. So you may be familiar with the economic system that has led us to this point as humanity, as a race, where we are facing such critical decisions and critical projections with our climate, with our environment, with human health, with equality, with all of the SDGs and everything that they represent, having been set out as a benchmark for not not impeding on, not compromising the ability of future generations to meet their needs. That's the definition of sustainability. For me, I find that term, sustainability, to not go far enough. And for the older students who are joining us today, I encourage you to think more in terms of regeneration. So we have sustainability, which is keeping the system as it is, but we know that that's not working. So for the older students, please start thinking about regeneration. So anytime you read sustainability, see if you can impose regeneration. On the left of your screen, you'll have the linear economy. We take natural resources, we make something out of it, we consume those, and then we have waste. In the economy that we need to move towards, we are redesigning, retailing, consuming, collecting the resources that still have value and repurposing and recycling those so that the concept of waste is no longer acceptable in any form. So whether it's food waste, energy waste, water waste, all of these basic things, we recognize and value the resources of the earth and recognize as well that they are limited. So the circular economy is what we're moving towards. From my background in psychology, this is actually a slide that I have about stepping into action, one of the courses that I have. And it reads ACT, A-C-T. And for me, this represents action changing things. We oftentimes have a lot of talk. There's a lot of talk in the political spheres. There's a lot of talk in industry. And at the heart of 10 Little Pieces is the recognition of the value of stepping into action. So for my little children who started 10 Little Pieces just by picking up those few pieces of debris from the beach that they were playing on, their action changed the way that they thought about what they consumed. And it's a very simple concept that you can see is a stepping stone into a much larger interconnected system of understanding the world and how we relate to it and what we must do to preserve it, to minimize the damage that is on track to cause enormous destruction and heartache. So for the students listening today, please, if I leave you with anything, I want you to believe that your small action, so long as you are taking action and being brave enough to actually bring your thoughts into reality and move forward with writing to a large producer of plastic or picking up litter in your street, or beginning an environmental group within your school, or taking initiative. It matters because the ripple effect from your small initiative can be profound, and you need as much practice as you can get if you're going to take on the big guys like I'm trying to do. So to finish today, I wanted to show you the faces of my 3 little boys. These are the children that started 10 Little Pieces. I have my 2-year-old Elliot on the left, my now 10-year-old Liam in the middle, and Joshua on the right. Joshua is particularly fascinated with turtles, and his sign reads, "I pick up litter because I love turtles." So you find a way to connect with the place you are. Find a way to leave it better than you found it, and you will have a sense of belonging and responsibility and autonomy to make the changes that we need in order to protect the world.
That was indeed beautiful, Alison.
Oh,
Every slide spoke a million, words and so many messages to take home, actually.
Thank
Binti
you.
ma'am, yeah, thank you. Thank you for sharing all those facts with us. And I
Thank
think we
you.
have a moderators.
Yeah, that was a lovely talk, Srishti. Over to you, beta.
Thank you, ma'am, for sharing about your inspiring movement. We hope to abide with your efforts from our own little spaces. Shall we now take some questions from students? Students with questions can raise their virtual hand and I'll recognize them. Arna Aurora has a question.
Very good.
You can go ahead with your question, Arna. She is not asking her question, so Shabelle Bambi, you can go ahead with your question. Am I audible?
Namaste,
Yes,
ma'am.
Srishti. Namaste, Shabelle.
I'm sorry due to poor network. I won't be audible if I switch on my camera. So I wanted to ask that do we need to re-educate ourselves that there is no such thing as waste, and will that reduce the litter in the world?
A very good question. I believe that we will have waste as a product of modern production. I think it is to rely on industry to reduce that for us and not make it available is going to be waiting too long. So I think in order to regain the power that we have as individuals to influence the world, we must choose the least harmful way of interacting with our world and in order to move forward. And sometimes it's not possible. Sometimes, there are medical reasons. If you're very, very thirsty and there's nothing else to drink, you will drink out of a plastic bottle because that is all that is available to you. So don't feel bad for nurturing your needs. But having said that, I think we probably need to be reminded what we need versus what we want. And the wants need to be on a much higher scale. We want air for our children. We want water for our children. We want biodiversity. We want a livable climate. Do we really want the cheap plastic toy for Christmas? These assessments of what we want versus what we need and reconnecting with what we value. Does that answer your question?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Hetal Priya, you can ask your question.
Namaste, ma'am. I wanted to ask that as citizens, we tend to become selfish and only be concerned with the cleaning of our own homes. So, in that case, how can we look out for the society and future generations?
I think we always start with our place. I think we always start with ourself, and then we think about our family, and then we think about our immediate environment. And in that respect, that can be really powerful. Yes, we are selfish as a race. Different countries are doing terrible things to each other at the moment, and polluting the environment at the cost of the rest of humanity. These are really significant selfish acts, and I agree with you. Humanity has become selfish. So what can we do? Take heart in the fact that if your place or your stream or your school ground or the piece of food wrapper that you walk past on the way to school when your school reopens, this one piece makes a difference. This one act of kindness is kindness to your community, it's kindness to your family, it's kindness to your future children, and it's kindness to yourself, because as Ms. Gupta has said, the nature we are in is the nature in us. We are all one. And so I hope that we have an awakening of interconnectedness. And you give me hope by asking these kinds of questions.
Thank you.
Aryan Singh, you can go ahead with your question.
Can you see me?
Yes.
Namaste, ma'am.
Namaste.
Ma'am, I learned about a crowd-funded initiative for cleaning oceans called Team Seas, where
Yes.
they're using an ocean interceptor robot to collect waste from the ocean.
Yep.
So, what is your opinion on the role of technology in marine debris management?
I think there's some fantastic initiatives going on. Team Seas, who you've just mentioned, are connected with the ocean cleanup. So I just saw a fantastic, I'll send it to Ms. Gupta and Ms. Das for you, a documentary on that. There are some brilliant initiatives, and the story of the ocean cleanup, which is the large boom that is, I've got a map behind me, sort of sitting out in the North Pacific over here at the moment. They hope to have many of them. The interceptor, which is the one that is in the rivers, and the booms across the rivers, brilliant technology. Of course, we need to stop it there. So, in similarity, when I encourage hundreds of children to pick up a little bit of rubbish, that's an intervention. Okay, so that is an initiative that intervenes at that point. But it shouldn't be produced in the first place. Much of what we use is single-use plastic. Much of what we use has life hundreds of years beyond its usefulness. So when you ask about technology, I think there are enormous gains to be made in reusable systems of packaging. So whether it's refill and reuse and the share economy, I think that's a huge growth industry and one that we should return to. I also think edible packaging will be a very good development. We need to see a lot of high-level investment in this. But if you've got a brilliant idea, share it. Like, think about it, think it out, try and get investment, get your teachers involved, or find a local entrepreneur and share those brilliant ideas, because don't be afraid to be seen as taking a risk, because we need this initiative. A lot of the technologies that we need to save the earth, they don't exist yet. So every little initiative to make the world better and to reduce waste and capture those resources, coming back to the image of the rethink wheel, reduce, reuse, recycle, all of those things. And when you go through the dictionary, down all the words, find something that you can invent or encourage in your own community to encourage that technological uptake. There's so much that can be done.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Ma'am, can we take one more question from Rocha Vermani?
Of course.
Namaste, ma'am. My question is that do you think it's important for creative artists and for scientists to collaborate in order to raise awareness about environmental issues? For example, how can artists, writers, filmmakers help us to tackle climate change and marine pollution?
That is a fantastic question, and I am a very large supporter of creativity and imagination, especially in our youth. I had the very great honour of participating in the judging of your comic strip competition earlier in the year, and some of those, the power of an image particularly. So there's many creative arts. There's writing, speaking, drawing, creating sculptures, designing. Designing is an art form in itself. The gentleman who asked me about technology, design is a creative initiative. That creativity is where we're going to see the solutions. And I think one of the major things about art in this space is that it crosses the boundaries of language. you can, with one image, you can, it gives me goosebumps. It makes me so excited to think of the incredible power of an image and the ability of a young girl in India to tell an old professor here in Australia a message with just one picture. It's enormously powerful. And I think as well, it captures the beauty of what we're all trying to preserve. Wouldn't you agree?
Thank you, ma'am.
I now invite Ms. Annapurna ma'am for the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Shrishti. It was such a pleasure listening to you speak, Alison. And I am so thankful that you accepted our invitation to speak and interact with our children. And I really, before I say anything at all, I'd want our children to unmute themselves and give it up for you for this beautiful interaction.
Thank you very much. It is really the honor and the pleasure and the privilege is mine to be able to communicate with your beautiful students who are so very lucky. I'll just speak to them. You are so very lucky students to have these incredible leaders guiding your sense of belonging in the world. And I'm so touched by the theme of the nature in us being a core part of your belief and your value. And I want to give my thanks to Ms. Das and Ms. Gupta. Thank you so much for this opportunity. It's a pleasure.
Thank you, Alison. I'd like to thank the teachers who've put together the session today. Binsi ma'am, Susan ma'am, Disha ma'am, and the children who moderated, Shrishti and Arosh, and all the children there. We have a club, an environment club called the Paryavaran Club, and we have very enthusiastic children who are enthusiastic about the environment. And we have our own vegetable patch and all of that, which they tended to before the pandemic. And there's a whole lot of initiatives with regard to the environment taking place. And your session today, Alison, I think it's left us with a lot of food for thought. And you, especially the slide where you asked us to look up all the words which start with re, it brought to my mind, rewilding the green was one poster that our children had made somewhere. And it's such a fascinating thing to know that it is in hands to change whatever we need to change. And that's the power of the re, right? You can turn it back, you can turn back that wheel. So, and more power to you, Alison, and a lot of more litter to be picked up, I'm sure. I hope it gets lesser and lesser. I know for a fact that your children are doing some incredible work with you on the beaches. I've seen pictures posted of toys that they've shared, beach toys.
Yes.
Yes, would you like to tell us a little about that?
Yes, I can tell you that. So for our community, we have a dog and we walk it on the beach, and it's a beach that at the moment we have a turtle season. So I take the dog and in the mornings very early, 4:30 in the morning, just as the sun is coming up, and I look for the turtle tracks along a particular stretch of beach. And if I find the turtle track, I call the ranger and they come and make sure that the turtles are okay because they're endangered. So all the time when I'm walking, I'm picking up the debris that I find that's washing in from the ocean. And we often visit this beach, and we cleaned up our house, and we found a small cupboard and we painted it, and we had some toys for the beach that my children didn't use anymore. So we put the cupboard near the beach and we called it the beach library. So the community and the children that visit here can use that toy when they're on the beach, and then when they're finished with the toy, they put it back. And so many people have said this is just a really simple, beautiful concept of if I'm a mother and I take this toy with my child for the beach, they might use it only, 1 week in a whole year. So why don't we, as mothers, as community, share what we have? And it's really very gentle way of showing that we care for the community, for the environment, and for our children, because we all don't need plastic toys. We only use them for a short time. We can share because it has value to me or it has value to you when I'm not using it, and vice versa. So we need to share. So this is these little ideas this idea came from a 6-year-old. It's a great idea. So have that courage to do these simple, gentle things for yourself and for your community.
And less can be more. Thank you. Thank you so much, Alison, for joining us today. And thank you once again.
My pleasure.
Thank you, Alison. And let's continue our association, and anything that you feel that you can reach out to us, and we sitting here in India can contribute in our ways. We'll be more than happy to do so as a school.
You are welcome very much to join the Facebook community of 10 Little Pieces, and
Yes.
on Instagram, you are welcome to follow us there. I hope to have a whole lot of education programs up that I can give for you early next year, and I will be my honor to share those with you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, children. I'm sure you are going to get, added to the Instagram page. Just follow ma'am. And we'll also send out communication from school officially so that we can all contribute with you and share our ideas, and let's do it. I think we all need to do it for the world out there, for our sakes.
Yes.
Thank you, Alison. Thank you once again.
Thank you.
Thank you to all the children who've been such a good audience. God bless each one of you. You can take a short break before you log in for your next class, children.
Thank you, children.
Namaste.
Namaste.
Thank you, Binsi ma'am, once again, and all the teachers who pitched in.
I'll end the meeting in 2 minutes.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Namaste.
Thank you. Namaste. Namaste.
Excuse me, ma'am. I just had a question.
Yes. Yes,
Ma'am, when
Srishti.
would the results of the competitions be announced?
We'll just check the numbers that have come in. It has to be a sizable number for us to take a call. I'm definite before November ends, I'm sure.
Thank you, ma'am.
By next week, I guess. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.
You too. Bye-bye.